Hello, boys and girls. What a day it's been. It's quite cold out there. It is rainy, even though it's June, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's okay because we have a small little stack of things to open, including this, what was once a Sephora box. So, yeah, how about that? First up, we've got Orlando, Florida. Land of the theme parks. What could it be? What could it be? It is a out of print, and I guess a rather hard to, not only out of print, but hard to find, a collection of Richard Pryor films, only on DVD, because, and the primary reason why I got it was because of the Mac, which I remembered really liking. As far as like blaxploitation films from the 70s, like I remembered that one was really good. But this particular one that I found, it cost about as much as just the Mac on its own. It went out of print some time ago, I guess. I don't know why. But this particular edition, like I think getting these other ones, I don't think any of those were released on Blu-ray either. And finding this was actually not that much more expensive than just finding the Mac on its own. But yeah, Richard Pryor was quite a comedic talent, I have to say. I mean, he was quite the pioneer as well. And I got it mainly for the Mac, but I do want to see some of his other filmography because, I do think he was quite talented. And now his last film appearance was actually in David Lynch's Lost Highway. Not a lot of people know that. And then we got Little Dragon Books from Milpitas, California. I probably pronounced that wrong, but, Oh, yeah. So, I have been waiting on talking about this kind of thing until now, because I knew that I was getting certain releases that would be a good chance to talk about it. We got the jazz singer here. And this was the first sound film. It was a talkie. Now, granted, most of the film is a silent film, but it was the first film to really utilize sound within it. There are some notable, like, talking segments and singing and things like that. Not all the way through because the technology wasn't quite there yet. But nonetheless, it's an incredibly important film for film history. And this is the big 3-disc edition here, where you've got the movie there, you got a big old booklet on the inside here, and you've got, I forgot how massive this booklet is, it's a very important film for film history. And then this one is the 2-disc DVD, the 2-disc DVD section of it. But on top of it being a very important film in film history, and on top of it being, something that you just kind of have to see if you care about film, I also got this, as you can see, because I've been collecting a lot of, like, potentially controversial films, and the jazz singer, it doesn't really get brought up in that category as much, even though, as you can see, because it was 1927, it, has blackface in it because, well, guess what? That was a big thing on vaudeville at the time and for, decades before that. But, it's one of those things where I've been ordering up a lot of films that, because of the fact that there was a big run on, there's a better one. Because there was a big run on the Gone with the Wind physical copies on DVD and Blu-ray because of HBO Max having taken it off briefly, which I guess that they're putting it back up like next week or something, which is good, because not to go on a hugely long rant here, but like, I'm perfectly good with the disclaimer that they were putting up. I was just more worried that they were going to say that they were going to do it and then not actually do it, but it seems like they are, so that's good. But even so, I want to still have physical copies of things, especially when they are of historical importance like the Jazz Singer. I mean, there's no way you can get around it, because it was the first, talkie. And yeah, so there's no way you can get around it. You shouldn't be able to get around it, but at the same time, we have to acknowledge the unpleasant aspects of it, which is that, yeah, it's got blackface in it, because that was pretty common with stage productions at the time. And it's I just wanted to snag it, but just in case something similar were to happen. But because I'm not never ever about censorship. I am always about studying things in context and being able to just see where we were versus where we are now. And again, important film. I'll be honest, I don't think it's like the greatest film, but it just in and of itself, like plot wise, it's very much a kind of standard, like, young artist wants to be an artist, but his father says, no, you can't do that. It's kind of one of those standard stories, but at the same time, one of the first ones, I think actually the first one, at least as far as the musical genre is concerned, to be captured on film anyway. And then we got Gibsonia, Pennsylvania. And what could this be? Oh, good. Now, I talked about this before, but it's Exorcist to the Heretic with the slipcover, and it is the Scream Factory version of it. And a lot of people really, really hate this film. I'll be honest, I kind of like this film. I don't think that it at all holds up relative to the first one. Like, if I were part of the audience that was seeing this for the first time after the smash hit that was the first film, then yeah, I'd be pissed off too. Because does it compare in any way to the first one? No. It doesn't even really hold a candle to Exorcist 3, which is a very underrated sequel. But honestly, I liked what Exorcist 2 was going for as far as, like, trying to... it was basically trying to blend the realms of science and the supernatural kind of together and be able to, like, with the... People kind of called it, like, proto-inception, like the headsets that they wear to kind of get inside of Reagan's subconscious. And, you could definitely make that argument, but what I liked about it was that it was trying to blend the realms of the scientific and the supernatural together, and also it was, deepening the story a little bit more as far as establishing, it was establishing the demon Pazuzu a little bit more explicitly than it had been in the first one, and the previous relationship that it had with Father Marin in Africa, and you had James Earl Jones in it dressed up like a locust, and there are things that people like to make fun of, but I honestly think that they had some interesting food for thought, plus kind of the after effects that demonic possession would have on a person. Now, I don't think that it was executed as well as it could have been, but I liked where it was going at least. And what makes this particular version special, on top of the cool slipcover with the locust, which I really like the locust as a motif, to be honest with you. And I like John Boorman as a director because he did Deliverance, which is an awesome film. This set here, it's got the 117-minute version and the 102-minute versions. And, because when the first cut, when it went into theaters, it was basically laughed off the screen, and so the studio had to go back in and re-edit it to try and make it, passable or whatever, and so I'm curious to see what the differences are. Now, again, I liked what they were going for. I think it's kind of underrated, but again, if you try to compare it to the original or even to the third one, then it's doomed. And last up, we got a big-ass box that was originally a Sephora box, and it is from Richmond, Virginia. And we're going to find out exactly what it is. I have no clue what it could be. But yeah, I mean, so expect to see some more films that, I wanted to snag up just in case, either HBO Max or whoever decided to pull them from whatever streaming service, or from, if they were to, like, magically go out of print or something. I've been trying to snag them up just because, these are sensitive times, and they're, you never know what is going to be perceived as being, offensive or whatever. and I'm all for, trust me, I am all for studying things in context. I'm all about disclaimers and getting the dialogue started, getting people to learn more about, about issues of, I hate all this stuff. Look at that. I'm all for, getting people to learn more about it. Assuming that they do re-upload Gone with the Wind with the disclaimer and all that, then that should hopefully help at least get people learning about, that side of film history. I'm never ever in favor of censorship, no matter what. I'm just not. And speaking of Exorcist, look at this. We got the first one. That was quick. I only ordered it like a few days ago. But yeah, so this is the 3-disc edition of the first Exorcist. And so we got this cover here with the actual Exorcist steps, which that's a real place in Washington, D.C. I believe I've seen these or in real life, or at least driven past them, but that was a long time ago. And, beautiful artwork there. What makes this particular edition special is that, well, it comes with an excerpt from this, the Friedkin Connection, a memoir, all about William Friedkin himself. He's quite an interesting person because he went through quite a lot of, I guess, personal evolutions, because, like, on the set, he behaved, I think it was the dearly departed Max von Sydow, Max von Sydow, I think is how you pronounce it, but, he said that, he behaved like a man with total freedom and total power, and he did a lot of stuff that you would never be able to get away with today. Like, he fired off, live ammunition, he fired off guns on set to get people to look surprised. He, just all kinds of stuff that you could never ever do today because of, well, safety regulations, and also, trying to make sure that, there is a safe space on set for just, people to not get abused, basically. But, at the same time, like, so he was, I believe, raised Jewish, but was agnostic, all during the making of The Exorcist, and then kind of later in his life, he seems to have found, Christianity, I'm sure, partially because of his work on The Exorcist. But again, I don't want to speak for him or anything, but that's just from what I've read. And then what makes this particular edition special is that it's got a new, I say new, it's got a previously unavailable bonus disc, and also it has the film in a digital edition. And it's got a little forward there from William Friedkin. It's got the extended director's cut. It's got the theatrical cut. And it's got the new disc of bonus features. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, so I mean, I think The Exorcist is by far and away one of my favorite horror films, which that's not a unique opinion, but I like it because it really does provoke a lot of thought about the nature of good and evil, and about the lengths to which evil will go to corrupt that which is good, and the fact that its target is an innocent girl, and or the means by which it does that is an innocent girl, but the targets are actually Father Karras and Father Marin, and it's to make them despair, and that's what that's what the director's cut makes explicit, that it is to doubt the possibility that God could love us. And so with that, we have our completed Exorcist collection again, but we've got the nicest editions of all the various films. So we've got 3-disc here, the 2 Scream Factories of 2 and 3, and then the custom covers here that I did of Exorcist the Beginning and Dominion prequel to The Exorcist, which they're essentially the same movie, except not, because this one okay, so Dominion prequel to The Exorcist was done by Paul Schrader, who we've talked about in previous videos. He was doing this film, and I guess Warner Brothers wasn't really liking the direction of it, so they booted him off the film, and basically handed Rennie Harlan of Cutthroat Island and Nightmare on Elm Street 4 fame to go ahead and do, basically do the movie over again, but make it more commercial. And this one is the Exorcist: The Beginning. This is the one that actually made it to theaters, but it did not do well critically or commercially. And so then Warner Brothers went back to Paul Schrader and was like, we fucked up. Here's some more money to finish your version of the film. And they released it. I think it might have been a limited theatrical release, but for sure to DVD. And this one was better received. Like, it wasn't, amazingly well received, but it was better received. I think, honestly, The Exorcist: The Beginning is a more visually stunning film, because that's, Rennie Harlan is a very visually gifted director. But then this one, I think, is more, theologically provocative, more theologically well-founded, and it's a more deliberately paced film. It's more, I think, in line with what the original Exorcist films were trying to go for in terms of provoking thought and not just being visceral exercises. But they both have their strengths and their weak points, because I think this one is a bit more visually exciting than this one is. But anyway, it does feel good to have the complete series once again, but in cooler versions. And of course, our other selections here. So, we're gonna see some more cool stuff on the way, some more things that, I wanted to snag up just in case they decided to get out of print or pulled or anything like that. So, we're gonna dive more into those, some more horror films, some more just different things. So please stay tuned, and if you like what you saw, then like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon, set phasers to stun, warp factor 5. I will see you in the next video. Continue to stay safe out there, because the second wave of coronavirus is coming. And so just continue to keep safe and healthy.